Welcome back everybody to the Wandering Samurai Study, in which we review and analyze every single act told in Rurouni Kenshin, and today's act is Act 72, Encounter in the Forest, Part 1. So I kind of failed to mention it at the end of the last video that Sanosuke was technically in the last chapter, and it all kind of serves to lead into the whole like tying up loose ends and stuff and kind of setting up for new stuff. Shifting the story over to Sanosuke is kind of like giving him the opportunity to set things up for himself, that like things aren't just happening to Kenshin, but they're also going to be happening to Sanosuke. And so Kyoto is going to give him some agency in the story, whereas he's kind of right now just following Kenshin to kind of prove him wrong and to kind of stick it to Saito. This chapter kind of feels like the kind of chapters that we got at the end of the last arcs, you know, like how we got that one with Yahiko and Tsubame, and how we got the one with Sanosuke and his friend. That's kind of what this feels like, and I'm thinking that this is because we are so close to actually arriving to Kyoto that I think that we can pretty much consider this like the end of Act 1 of the Kyoto arc entirely, where all of like the set pieces are pretty much set up, and now our cast is going to be arriving to Kyoto, and this is just kind of Sanosuke's little mini story in this grand narrative. But without further ado, let's get into the chapter summary review, and we'll get into Encounter in the Forest, Part 1. Sanosuke continues his lost adventures to Kyoto through the forest. Just as he was going to eat the last of his remaining food, a shockwave from nearby causes him to drop his dumpling. Searching for the cause of his ruined meal, Sanosuke finds a fallen monk capable of incredible power. The two men get to talking, and Sanosuke asks the fallen monk if he would be willing to teach him how to use his power. The monk agrees after Sanosuke offers up his life. Originally, the monk gave Sanosuke a month's time to learn his technique, but Sanosuke declares that he only needs 1 week. So let's start off by talking about Anji, the fallen monk. I always felt that Anji was created for the sole purpose of Sanosuke, to kind of have somebody to bounce off of this arc, and I feel like there is evidence for that kind of sprinkled throughout the arc, and we'll kind of focus on that as it kind of becomes relevant. But there's evidence here of that in this chapter itself, because there was this big question that was proposed at the beginning of the arc that has been kind of sort of addressed, and now we kind of get a follow-up to that, and that is, how is Sanosuke going to get better? Because we saw that he wasn't good enough to take on Saito. Saito kind of put it in his head that Kenshin was leaving him behind because he felt that he wasn't good enough, or that he would just be a liability. So Sanosuke's agency for going to Kyoto is to kind of prove these two men wrong, and he hasn't yet done anything about it. And then when we finally do get to see Sanosuke again, that question is again asked, or at least somewhat addressed, where Sanosuke says, hey, I don't know what I'm doing when it comes to training. I don't know what to do to get better. I've always just kind of found my way, brawling. And so his answer at the time was cutting down trees, and he knew that that was kind of a lost cause, that wasn't really going to help him. So now the answer is again addressed with Sanosuke, and good, because we're about to get to Kyoto. We would like for Sanosuke to feel like he's somewhat better by the time he arrives in Kyoto, and that is through Anji. So I feel like that's the whole reason that Anji is here, and I'm willing to bet that by the time that we get his Secret Life of Characters page, that we're probably gonna get the same thought from the author, but I don't know for certain. I don't think I've seen the Secret Life of Characters page in previous rereads. I don't know, but it doesn't really matter. This is what I'm proposing, and we'll see if I'm right when we finally do get that Secret Life of Characters page for him. But that's kind of my take on Anji. Let's go ahead and talk about the Master of Two Layers, the boom boom. So we finally get to see the Master of Two Layers, the Futai no Kawame. I don't remember how you say it. Futai no Kawame. Oh my gosh. Futai no Kawame. I don't feel like I'm saying it right. But the mastery of two layers. The mastery of two layers, we finally get it. It is such a cool technique because it kind of brings us back to that whole like fantasy with realism element that Rurouni Kenshin is basically known for, and this whole like boom boom, it's so simple and so elegant that you could very realistically believe that this is a technique. And I don't know for certain, but I want to believe that maybe it is in some type of like martial arts that I am not familiar with. But if anybody studies martial arts and you can confirm that this din boom boom is a real technique, I'd love to hear all about it. In the actual chapter itself though, Anji kind of explains that this is the power that he's using, and we can kind of assume that when Sanosuke meets Anji and he's, doing his meditation and he stabs the sword through the ground and causes those statues to be destroyed, at first hand, I kind of had a difficult time believing or being able to see how it correlates to a actual move. I can't really see how it would work in combat. Maybe it's just something that he does when he's meditating, but I can see it being good for like a distance shot. I think I remember in the anime we see Kenshin strike the ground and causing a shockwave that hurts some of like Raijuta's men, I think, in the anime. Maybe that's a way that Anji could utilize this move. Otherwise, I really don't see how it correlates with boom boom with the stab. Is that what it is? That's kind of what I'm kind of having a hard time wrapping my head around. But I don't know. What do you guys think? And so let's go ahead and finish off by talking about Sanosuke's 1 week declaration. I thought it was pretty cool that Sanosuke was really willing to put his life on the line to learn this technique. It kind of shows how motivated that he really is in all of this, and that there is a chance that he might not come back, but in a way kind of proves his convictions that he wants to get better despite not knowing how to get better, and also that he really is committed to catching up to Kenshin and proving himself to Kenshin and to Saito. The whole I'm willing to stake my life on it really sells Sanosuke's commitment, and I thought that was a really nice additional detail to this little mini story that we're getting here. And also Anji accepting it on the terms of him willing to stake his life on it. It's a way for us to kind of see the middle ground for Anji, because as Anji kind of points it out, and as we see, Sanosuke's motivations for wanting to catch up to Kenshin and to prove himself to these two men are entirely kind of self-serving. Anji kind of expressed that he is doing this for the sake of saving the world. He has no real way, having just met Sanosuke, of understanding that Sanosuke really means it. And I think that's why we get that question of, how do you feel about the Meiji? And I can see that the question of like, how do you feel about the Meiji, and the whole like kind of assessing him in the whole self-serving being a way of testing him, because if he says that he loves the Meiji and him asking him to teach him, like, being along the lines of self-serving, it could potentially be in a way that he would try to use this for completely greedy or self-serving motivations, I guess. And for him to say, I don't like the Meiji, in fact, he really hates the Meiji because of what they did to him in his past, it really is a way to kind of bridge that gap between them and kind of let Anji kind of lower his guard on him just a bit. And that is why I kind of hate that Sanosuke kind of steps up and was like, I don't need a month, I can do this in a week. Like, I get that this is a shonen story and we kind of need to have like that little bit of like through the power of perseverance and motivation or the will to wanting it being present in the story. I feel like having a timeline proposed in the first place is a little bit arbitrary, because for all we know, like, they could have used up the entire month, or maybe just have it like 3 weeks or whatever realistic time it is from like Kyoto to or from Tokyo to Kyoto, and have it just kind of be revealed at the end of the chapter. I was like, oh, by the way, Kyoto is like right here. You just gotta follow up this path and you'll be there like in an hour. Like we're just that close to the city. I feel like that could have been like a way around it. Instead, we have like this whole mention of like, well, I don't have a whole month. I need only 1 week because I gotta get to Kyoto. It's a little bit dumb, and I'm not a fan of it. But that, ladies and gentlemen, has been Act 72? Yeah, Act 72 of Rurouni Kenshin. If you like this video and you want to see more, then consider subscribing to the channel, leave a thumbs up, and comment down below something that you enjoyed about this chapter. I really like Anji. I think Anji is a pretty cool character design. And the whole like boom boom, again, I said it. It's simple, it's elegant, it's something that's kind of based on realism that's still kind of fantastic in its own way. Let me know what you guys think down below. But for now, bye, ciao.
Hello.
Welcome back, everybody, to the end. To the end. That's going in the blooper reel. Welcome back, everybody, to the wandering. Today's act is Act 72.